bussing in the comments?
Not quite. I bet it will once we get a conversation going.
I love how it's just telling me now that I need a premium account to stream on Twitter.
Oh,
That's kind of crazy. I didn't think that was whatever. It doesn't even matter. But I'm just gonna hit it anyway and see if it works. Damn it didn't work. Do you think if I just pay for it right now, I guess I'll just remove it. That's fine. That's kind of whack, honestly.
If and when we do, if we decide to go live again, like for the draft or whatever, we'll use mine because I got premium. I could set up the accounts and stuff.
I was honestly thinking about changing it from one of my from my other account, from the Gotham app. I mean, the Gotham app. That is actually a real thing in New York. The Gotham Sports app is a real thing, but which I didn't know. So people, one guy actually asked me one time, he's like, "Oh, is it the Gotham Sports app? Is it on it?" I was like, "No, but that would be so cool." Like if we had but whatever. But yeah, man, a lot to talk about. So what is your favorite move so far? I mean, let me ask you, because obviously you're a Colts fan. Let me see how you feel about Cam Bynum.
I like Cam Bynum. I will just be completely transparent. I haven't sat and grinded Cam Bynum tape recently, but from everything Minnesota fans have said, the ball skills are there. He brings a great energy to the locker room. We know about the dance moves and all of that stuff. I think the contract is pretty favorable as well. I think it was 4 years, 60 mil. I think it was only around 42 guaranteed or something like that. I wanted Javon Holland, and maybe there's a world where they get Javon Holland out there too. I'm not expecting it, but I like the Cam Bynum pickup. I think it's an upgrade over Julian Blackmon and is one that I think can be a nice safety acquisition for this team that desperately needed it.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I am someone, we talked about this before. I am someone that actually wouldn't mind to have, it has your, that is so funny. Look at that. It's got your account there instead of mine. That's hilarious. I was wondering, I was like, what's going on here? That's funny. No, yeah, I want Julian Blackmon, and like seeing the way that the contracts have been going, like I didn't think, what did Cam Bynum get, like $17 million a season or something like that, right?
It was 4 for 60, so I think it's going to come out to around 15 to 16.
Yeah. Who else? Someone signed, Trayvon Merrick signed for 3 years, 51 million. And that's why I was like, oh, like this is going kind of crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't really know how much I want Javon Holland now, but listen, I'll take it. This is what I wanted to do. This is why I'm like not really speaking very what is this? Why is there oh my goodness, this is crazy. What is going on here? See, that was my little I literally made that in like 30 seconds. I was like, let me just toss together a few random things here, but this is, I don't know what that description is. That's bananas. So let's get rid of that.
All right, let's really kick this off now.
Yeah, I mean, we kicked it off with a bang right there. That was exceptional. And now something is happening. I don't know what's going on, but we'll go back to that later, I guess. But we are here for a little free agency talk and a mock draft. So what I would like to do is, of course, I would like to have you as the number 1 overall pick. Now, let me ask you a question here. Now that, we saw Dan Moore get, $82 million over 4 seasons or whatever, which is unbelievably egregious.
Yeah, it's an awful contract.
So, I mean, well, if you think about it, which I kind of said in your, you said it was an awful contract, which I'm not disagreeing with you, but not only that, it's only 50 million guaranteed, which averages out to about 12.5 million. So one thing you can't deny about Dan Moore is the guy is iron. He plays every game. So now that you signed Dan Moore to that big contract, you're getting like a middle of the road to the bottom of the barrel type of left tackle. Like at his highest ceiling, he'll be good. He's never going to be like a Pro Bowler or a lead or anything like that. But, then you allow JC Latham to go back to his natural position. of right tackle. So that's why I'm thinking like, all right, they're solidifying the offensive line. It seems to me like even though you want the offensive line anyway for whatever quarterback you have, it seems to me that it looks like they're gearing up to draft Cam Ward now.
Yeah, I mean, I would still probably take Cam Ward at number 1, and I feel like if they were going to trade this pick, I feel like we probably would have heard a little bit more rumblings about it by now. I know after the combine, there were a lot of talks about the Giants potentially moving up. I've heard the Giants linked pretty heavily to Russell Wilson. Not sure how reputable those sources are, but yeah, I think I'd still go Cam Ward number 1 to the Titans. I think he's clearly the best quarterback in this draft class, and they are in a position where they desperately need a franchise guy. I think, yeah, like you said, improving the offensive line, I think that makes the most sense for them right now.
Yeah, and not only that, not going after, a quarterback at all. I mean, obviously we don't know if they went after a quarterback or not, but like I didn't hear anything about it. I'm also not in like the circles of Titans Twitter or in the insiders and anything like that. So I don't really know exactly what was going on. But one thing that I could tell you is didn't hear anything about it. And, Sam Darnold got a massive, I'm so happy for my guy, Sammy D.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I posted a TikTok about this, about Sam Darnold going
TikTok
to Seattle.
Yo, before you even continue, you're kind of bussing on TikTok, dude. You got a nice little thing going over there.
I appreciate that.
I didn't realize it until because I don't really follow anyone or search for anything on TikTok. I'm kind of just there for like brain rot if I'm bored.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yo, let me actually see, because like I know that you post TikToks like pretty consistently. So I was like, let me see what's going on. You had like a lot of followers and like a couple like really banging TikToks. I'm like, yo, this dude's having some pretty crazy success over here. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations to you on that. I like that.
I'm doing what I can with what I've got, but I like
in more ways than one, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I like
I don't think you understand
Sam Darnold pickup. I really do. And I see a lot of Seahawks fans complaining. And look, I get it, but you just got an extra 3rd round pick for Geno Smith. You got an extra 2nd round pick now for DK Metcalf. And you get a quarterback that, if we're basing it just off of last season, I think Sam Darnold is an upgrade over Geno Smith. Now, that's not a knock on Geno. I think Geno is an underrated quarterback, and I think he's going to do good things in Las Vegas. But Darnold brings some youth to that quarterback room. I think a lot of people still forget how young Sam Darnold still is.
27.
He's got a good arm, and he's got familiarity in the Kubiak offense. So I love everything about this pickup for Seattle. And I think the contract is pretty favorable as well. I think it's 3 for 101.5 or something like that. So I'm a big fan of that Sam Darnold pickup. I think the one thing that Seattle needs to do, you've got to improve the interior of that offensive line, because we saw it in the playoffs. When interior pressure gets in on Darnold, he struggles. So this is an interior offensive line that has been really horrible for the last couple of seasons. So they're going to have to address that. But I love the pickup, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on it.
I mean, listen, I'm completely biased to the fact that I just love Sam Darnold. So, like anything, I'm just super happy for him. I would have loved this, at least for Seattle. I was joking with my partner at work about this. It's so funny. It's like Seattle cuts Tyler Lockett. They trade DK Metcalf. And Sam Darnold's like, yep, I want to go there with one legitimate weapon. But obviously they're going to add to it, and I think it's great. A little interesting to me.
Hey, I'm going to cut you off really quick because the Colts just signed Charvarius Ward. Chris Ballard is awake in free agency, and we're making moves. I love it.
That's nice.
One of my biggest targets that I wanted Indy to go out and get. It is a 3-year deal worth up to $60 million. So I'm a huge fan of that one. I don't mean to cut you off.
$35 million guaranteed. That's not bad, dude. That's dude. One thing I wanted to tell you, at least in person, was you kept talking about, and I'm not like knocking what you're saying, you kept talking about how horrible some of these contracts were. I think what you really have to realize is it especially now, there's a couple things you have to factor into the contracts that we're looking at. One of them being that you know, especially with the TV deal that's coming for the NFL very soon, the cap is going to skyrocket over the next couple of years. It's already been skyrocketing. I think they said it's up like 829% in the last like 12 years or something like that, which is insane. That's actually kind of really inflated, but it's something along those lines of something like a ridiculous percentage. So, you know, contracts are going to get bigger, but the incentives are going to get bigger. So you're going to look at, yes, higher guarantees, but you want to look at the contracts for the guarantees. So like, you know, like you said before, like we were talking about with Dan Moore, it's like 82 million over 4 years is crazy for Dan Moore. But then you look at the 50 million guarantee, and at the worst, you're getting a semi below average left tackle that's going to play every snap of the season. That's only costing you $12.5 million at a premium position. Like that is one of the 5-6 premium positions that usually costs over $20 million at the NFL level. So, you know, it's really more value than anything. So that's why I really do love the Justin Fields contract, because at worst you're getting a average to below average start at his worst. Like, I'm not saying that he can't do better than this, but at his worst, you're getting an average to below average starter, but you're only paying $15 million a year for him. And it's only 2 years. So, you know, worst comes to worst, the Jets go 5-12 or 4-13 with Justin Fields at the helm this year. You know, then you could draft a quarterback in 2026. Justin Fields could either start or he could be your very expensive backup, and Tyrod Taylor's a free agent. So that's a really nice contingency plan to have. And then best case scenario, Justin Fields lights it up the next couple of years. You sign him to a massive extension. The kid's only 24, 25 still. Yeah. You know, like quarterbacks, the longevity of quarterbacks is something that is drastically different over the last 2-3 decades. Like guys are probably starting to get washed around like 36, 37, which in the NFL, it's like usually once you hit that 30-year-old plateau, you're like, oh, that guy's finished. But not for quarterbacks. Like we've seen countless amounts of guys, you know, have kind of career resurgencies in their early 30s that carry into their mid to late 30s. So, you know, if someone like Justin Fields is 27 years old, kind of like a Sam Darnold situation, after the 2 years, you know, that guy can sign for 40, 45, 50. By that time, who knows? There might be $60 million quarterbacks in the next couple of years, maybe even more. So, you know, the cap is going up, the guarantees are going to go up, but that's what I'm looking for in the contracts more than anything. I can give a crap less about the incentives. You know, if you're hitting the incentives that they're setting for you, that means that you're worth the money.
Yeah. And I mean, I appreciate you saying that. I will be the first to admit I'm still learning the cap and different things like that. I think going back to the Dan Moore part of it, he allowed 12 sacks this past year. So we'll see. I think it's an upgrade over Nicholas Petit-Frere, which is what Tennessee needed to do.
Yeah.
He was absolutely horrible for them. But we'll see how that one ends up panning out. Going back to the Justin Fields one, I know me and you both, we have never been the biggest Justin Fields guys. I love it for the Jets, though. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. Like you said, he also has the familiarity with Garrett Wilson, which I think is going to play a huge role for this. I thought the contract value was perfect. I think he's in a really good situation there with Aaron Glenn. I think they're going to want to run the football a lot, and you're going to have a really dynamic run game. So I honestly had no negative things to say about that Justin Fields move. I thought it was one of the best moves of free agency so far.
Yeah, I was actually thrilled. And like you said, we are both, I don't want to say haters because I don't think that's necessarily the case, but guys that maybe aren't necessarily the biggest fans of him. But listen, it seems like Aaron Glenn, Darren Mugi, and co are building an identity. Listen, you have three. I'm convinced that obviously Breece Hall can start on a lot of other teams, most of the teams in the NFL. Braylon Allen is someone that I honestly do think is the worst of the three running backs in the room. I like Isaiah Davis a lot. I think Isaiah Davis is someone that, you know, like if was traded to a different team, could easily be a workhorse. You got three guys, two huge backs in Allen and Davis. And then you have Breece Hall, who's 5'11", 220 pounds in his own right. You got three bruising running backs that are fast as well. Then you add Justin Fields to the mix. You're building an identity that you're going to run the football. And that's when Justin Fields is at his best, when he could run the football, he could roll out, he could throw off play action. If this is what you're trying to build, they're doing a good job in doing it so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that being said, when we get to the pick, I will address it, but you got to address offensive line. That's the thing here. Yeah. Now you have a gaping hole. You have your left tackle, the future set. John Simpson was fantastic last year. Elijah Vera Tucker hopefully can stay healthy. Joe Tippmann improved in his sophomore season. They have a gaping hole at right tackle. You need to address that ASAP. If you're not going to do it more, I'm not going to lie. I was okay that Morgan Moses didn't resign, even though the value was pretty great. I mean, 3 years, $24 million. The valuation could go up to $29 million. That's a great deal for the Patriots. And if that was the deal that he was going to sign with New York, then you kind of say, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But he's also injury prone and also 34 years old. And again, like the quarterback position, the tackle position is something that we've seen recently where guys could actually play into their mid to late 30s. So like that's not completely a whole deal breaker for me. I mean, look at Jason Peters was an undrafted free agent playing until he was 41. Dwayne Brown was playing until he was 40. Trent Williams is still going hard. You know what I mean? Like Andrew Whitworth won a Super Bowl at 40 years old. Like there's a lot of instances where these guys could, be great up until the latter stages of their 30s. But I think that's a great deal. But I think you go young. See, the beautiful thing about the Jets missing out on, letting DJ Reed walk, letting Hassan Reddick, which will probably go down as the worst trade in Jets history. I'm not even kidding. Hassan Reddick, Javon Kinlaw, who I don't know who his agent is. Maybe Jesus himself is his agent, because
how the hell was he able to get that money from Washington? Like I respect Adam Peters as a GM. I think he has done a phenomenal job team building. What is that? That was the one where I was like, all right, we got to pump the brakes on some of these contracts here.
That's a good, and then you add that. I mean, that was great contract for him. Good for him. I'm all about guys getting their bags. Good for you, Javon. 100%. And you know what? Like, he was bad for the Jets, but the Jets' interior defensive line was so bad that he was actually like the third best player on the interior, which is crazy because it was obviously Quinnen Williams was number one. Then you had Leonard Taylor, who was great for the Jets this year. I think he played like 200 snaps. He was really, really good for them. And then you had Javon Kinlaw, who statistically actually had a pretty good year. But then when you break it down, his run defense was terrible. And it's whatever. But so the beauty of all that is you're letting these older stopgap players go. DJ Reed was kind of tough. They replaced him with Brandon Stevens. I'm not like over the moon about it. I think Brandon Stevens is better than his numbers indicate. But that's something that I think he's a perfect cornerback too. That's what you're signing him for. Sauce is going to be one. Brandon Stevens has man coverage abilities as well. This is what an Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes defense is going to be looking for. And then, maybe you draft someone in the third, fourth round, something like that. Maybe someone falls, or maybe they're in love with someone in round two, whatever it may be. But yeah, losing these guys, you're getting compensatory picks, which is great because they just received 4 compensatory picks from losing Moses, Reed, Reddick, and Kinlaw. I'm not sure. I think you could only get 4 compensatory picks a year.
Well, Mitch Staff said in the comments here, he said, Jets got lucky. Someone signed Kinlaw and you'll get a compensatory pick. And you had texted that to me as well. So, I mean, that's great for the Jets.
Yeah, I'm all for it because usually compensatory picks, depending, are usually anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round. So, like Javon Kinlaw, you're not going to get a 3rd round pick. You're not going to get a 3rd round pick for Javon Kinlaw. But when they hand out these compensatory picks, I don't know exactly when they do it, but it's usually sometime relatively soon. You're probably looking at another top 100 pick, or I think the 3rd round ended after pick 100 before the compensatory picks. So you're probably looking at a pick in the 3rd round from 101 to like 106 or something like that for at least one of those guys, probably DJ Reed. So, I'm all for it, dude. This is a roster that needs bodies. And where do you make your bread and butter, dude? Day 3.
Yeah.
Day 3 of the draft is where you make your bread and butter. So I'm all for it. We'll see what's going on. I'm thinking that we'll get to it now. Let me make my pick here at number 2. I'm not going to lie. I mean, this is just, I don't want to say this is a throwaway mock, but this would be like fun. You got Myles Garrett, who sold his soul to the devil, sold his soul to Deshaun Watson to remain a Cleveland Brown. Why not pair Deshaun Watson? Why don't you pair Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter, right?
I'd be afraid to pair Deshaun Watson with anybody, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I was going to say something that never mind. But yeah, why not pair Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter to form right away one of the scariest pass rushing? I mean, I can go out there and play defensive end across from Myles Garrett, and that would still be a scary duo. So imagine having that freak of nature, who's probably the best player in the draft, at least in my opinion. I think he's the best player in the draft. Why not pair him with Myles Garrett?
Yeah, I agree. That contract was interesting. Again, another one I kind of am curious about your thoughts on, because Myles Garrett gets the bag, and I think everybody is in agreement that he deserved every penny of that contract. But if you're Cleveland, I'm just confused why Cleveland would do that, because you were going to get at least one first, maybe two if you trade him. This isn't a team that's going to win right now. So I don't know. And now you've got so much cap space tied up into Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson, and you don't have a lot of flexibility to make any other moves. So what do you think about that extension?
You kind of nailed it on the head. So as the player, does he deserve all that money? Absolutely. If there's a non-quarterback in the NFL, we have spoken about this quite a bit in the past, how I think Myles Garrett and Max Crosby are probably the two best defensive players in football. I think just the way that they defend against the run, that they're involved in every single play. TJ Watt kind of ghosts a couple times, that's maybe another guy that you're thinking is probably at the top of the food chain. Nick Bosa as well. Bosa in his own right is a fabulous run defender, but I just think Myles Garrett and Max Crosby are so consistent, and both of those guys got paid. I like the Max Crosby deal a little bit more than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is 29 years old, going on 30. That's 4 years or 4 or 3 years, whatever it was, of $40 million that you're going to be paying. Not to say that he's not going to be absolutely worth it, because he is, but you're cap strapping yourself tenfold. Yeah. You're what? Let's see how much does Deshaun Watson make this year, roughly?
Let me look this up.
Against the cap. Because I don't think Myles Garrett's deal kicks in yet. So you're looking at probably next year is going to be a real cap disaster when it comes to that. But you're allocating 30 to 40% of your cap to two players. How are you going to build? And you just went, what did they go? 4-13, 3-14. What did they go? I forgot. The Browns.
I believe it was 4-13.
Yeah, you went 4-13, and now you're allocating 30% of your cap to two players. I mean, it's certainly a choice. I love it financially and long term. I don't necessarily love the deal, but for the player and what he's worth, I think Myles Garrett is worth every penny. If it was $50 million a year, I wouldn't even have batted an eye, because he's an exceptional player. And like we just talked about, it's all about the guarantees, and it's all about the cap skyrocketing very, very soon. So you're looking at $20 to $30 million in, annual cap, every single year at the minimum. You're looking at it going up. So, I don't think the deal is really bad at all for the player and for the team. But long term, it's tough. But now they're definitely not going to trade. Now they're definitely not going to trade him. And that's kind of, I tweeted it yesterday. I love the fact that he got paid, but as an organization, that's your best asset, and he wanted out, quote unquote.
I don't know if you saw this too, but he has a no trade clause in the contract now. So now he has all the leverage, which, again, great on Myles Garrett for getting that. But I don't know, if I'm a Browns fan, like, as much as I would argue Myles Garrett's probably the greatest Brown, not named Jim Brown, of all time.
Well, Joe
Thomas in there. Yeah. But I don't know. I think I would have looked to move him, especially given the situation you're in with Deshaun Watson under contract. I was looking at the numbers here. Deshaun Watson, his 2025 cash payout is $46 million, which is 16.3% of the spending Cleveland has this year. So you add Myles Garrett's contract onto that, you're probably paying a little over a quarter of your cap space to two players, and you just don't have a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying long term. I mean, I don't think through free agency or through the draft, the Browns are going to turn themselves around from 4-13 to a playoff team again. They have a lot of holes. You're not looking for a 1-year turnaround, but
I mean, you did have a franchise quarterback in Kenny Pickett, so
they did. You're absolutely right. I mean, an absolute steal. And look, they got rid of one of the worst quarterbacks in football in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, so it's a win, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm sure that Howie Roseman will turn DTR into like
you can see it now. Jalen Hurts is going to go down for 2 games. DTR is going to step up, and he's just going to light it up. You can see it now.
Let's now that we're in a little bit of a lull of news, let's see if we can bang out a couple of these picks here. Going to be a little bit of a shorter stream for everyone, only because I do have to log off around 6:30, 6:40, something like that. I do have something I have to take care of, but this is my guy right here. Josiah's, my brother. So I'm really excited that we were getting to do this again. I didn't think we were going to do it. I'm so glad. I also didn't want to say anything to you earlier on in the day, because I didn't know if I was going to get stuck at work or not. So as soon as I knew that I wasn't getting stuck, I texted. I was like, "Yo, let's do it."
I got a text from one of our good friends in the community asking if I was going to go live. Last year, went live, had an absolute blast, and just didn't end up working out. But I'm glad that we were able to hop on. It's been almost a year since we've done something like this. So at least a formal recording. It's been a while. So,
well, I did retire for 5 months. So
you did.
I did. Yes. But I'm back, and I'm super excited. So my friend, you were up at number 3. The only request I make, I believe that, well, I'll trade you number 7 for number 14.
Yeah, I figured. That's a deal. The Giants at 3. I loved, probably my favorite under the radar free agent pickup of the cycle. I thought Paulson Adebo to the Giants was fantastic. Yes. I thought that was an unbelievable pickup for them. Deonte Banks has not turned into the player we thought he was going to turn into. Andrew Phillips was good. I'm taking Travis Hunter here. And I know it just seems like as time goes on, the Shedeur Sanders hype train is starting to come to a screeching halt. I just have not seen him getting taken in the top 5, top 15 of mocks anymore. Travis Hunter, you said Abdul Carter is your number 1 player. Travis is my number 1 player. He just does everything you want on both sides of the ball. He's such a freak athlete. The ball skills are remarkable. You need a number 2 receiver. You need another boundary corner. Wherever you want to play Travis Hunter, I think he gives you flexibility. Can you imagine sets of Malik Neighbors and Travis Hunter on the offensive side of the ball? I mean, like I said, I mentioned earlier in the stream, they've been linked a little bit to Russell Wilson. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't love if that happens, but either way, I'm still going to take Travis Hunter at 3 and figure out the rest later.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, I will say, though, Travis Hunter's not going to be playing the same amount of snaps on both sides of the ball as an asset. If I spend a top 3 pick on someone and he's as good as he is as a receiver and as good as he is as a corner, I'm probably playing him on offense rather than defense. And maybe he'll get in there in some like dime or quarter packages, something like that. Maybe on 3rd down and long, he could play at least in the first year. Then, as time goes on, sure. But I think it's a fantastic pick regardless. You're adding a versatile weapon to either side of the football. So how could you be mad about that? Let me ask you a question. I have been going back and forth about this for quite a while. PFF has Ted McMillan as their 3rd ranked prospect. I just don't see it, man. I think honestly, he lies, at least for me, in that 15 to like 22 range.
Let me look at where I have him on my board, because I think number 3 is wild. I just don't see him as a top 3 prospect in the class. I have him as the number 8 prospect, but I expect him to go probably from picks 8 to 15, like you said. So I would agree with you. I think that's a little high. However, based on how things went today and the way New England's free agency has gone, Armand Mimbu was probably going to be my pick had they not got Morgan Moses. And maybe you still take Mimbu and just play him on the left side.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm going to take Will Campbell, because I'm not, as you know, if someone is true to one position, I like to leave them there. It really truly is different. Look at JC Latham this year. You know what I mean? Like it truly is a difference. So I think I'm going to take, I mean, Will Campbell, there are concerns about, his arm length or whatever. There's some people that go just so far into it and like whatever. But I think Will Campbell is exceptional. He tested fantastic at the combine. I mean, he kind of just proved what we already knew. We knew he had short arms, but we knew that he was a freak of nature athletically.
It's
Honestly,
crazy.
I think huh?
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you add any offensive line talent here, and it's going to be good because the offensive line is absolutely horrendous. So
what's wild to me, and I remember texting you back in the offseason when we were doing our summer scouting and we were looking at the tackles, and I was like, Will Campbell to me is the best tackle in this class. But my one complaint, I didn't think he was super athletic, and he just blew me away with how well he tested. He moved so well. I thought Emory Jones was the better athlete on that offensive line, and we all kind of got kicked in the butt on that one. Will Campbell is phenomenal. I absolutely love him. I think he would be a home run here for New England.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of enjoy what the Patriots have done. It got a little hairy. Now I know that you were like massively, not massively against, but like I know Patriots fans were like celebrating Harold Landry because you look at the raw numbers and you're like, wow, this guy 9 sacks this past year. Ever since coming back from his injury, he has like 20 sacks in 2 years and stuff. A little bit inflated numbers. You and I are both on the same wavelength that, sacks are not everything.
Yeah.
Pressure, hurries, pass rush win rate is to me far more superior than sacks. I know that's getting analytical, and I don't like to really touch the analytical side of football, but I mean, proof is in the pudding with that kind of stuff. And
Cameron Jordan has been pretty high on the sacks list for the last couple of years, and just watch a Saints game, and he is not making the impact that you would think if you look at the raw numbers. Harold Landry's fine. I guess you're pairing him back up with Vrabel. Hang on. Let's refresh.
Oh boy. No. It's about baseball. I just got a New York Yankees ace Garrett Cole will undergo Tommy John surgery tomorrow to repair a torn right ulnar collateral ligament and miss the 2025 season.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, God. Okay. Sorry.
Continue. Hey, at least you got Justin Fields. You got the Knicks.
Okay. Moving on. But yes, you are up at number 5 here. And you could break my heart if you want. I know that you know what you think what I'm going to pick next, and then the pick after. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I do know what you're going to pick next. It's funny you mentioned that. Mitch brought that up as an option for the Patriots at 4. I don't hate it. I really don't.
Especially, I don't hate that either. I did see that. I have it on my phone because I can't physically see the comments. So I'm looking at them now, and that did kind of intrigue me a little bit there for a split second.
Have 5 for Jacksonville. I'm going to be honest. They've made a lot of moves in free agency. I'm not really in love with many of them, to be honest.
You don't like what Bengal has done so far?
No, I don't. I like the Dyami Brown pickup. I thought that was actually a really under the radar move for them. But like Jordan Lewis, it's fine. That's not one of my favorite moves. I didn't like Patrick McCarry all that much. I just feel like they have gotten a lot of guys that are depth pieces, but I don't think you've got any standout studs there outside of maybe Lewis and Dyami Brown. They're in a tough spot. I will not be going with your guy here at 5 because with the options they have in that backfield, it doesn't make sense. Ted McMillan is a guy that I do like to this team. We know Liam Cohen had the big body receiver and Mike Evans and how he wants to run his offense. I think he's also got a perfect complementary skill set to Brian Thomas Jr. You could also go Mason Graham. I know people are going to complain about his combine. I think it was fine. He lost weight to try and test well and didn't even test.
Guy was never going to, he never plays at 320 anyway. I don't know where Michigan even got that from.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to say I'm going to go Ted McMillan, I think. I think McMillan makes the most sense for this team. Let's see here. Someone in the chat saying the Commanders need a good wide receiver to back up Terry, and they're going to the Super Bowl easily. Well, you did get Deebo Samuel, so I don't really know that you need another receiver outside of that.
They did lose Dyami Brown, who was pretty decent for them. Jamison Crowder came back from the dead for like 3 weeks to actually be a pretty reliable receiver.
Jensen breakout season. coming soon. Ben Sinnott breakout season. Luke McCaffrey.
I sure hope so because I have Ben Sinnott in my dynasty. Yeah. I just made a sick trade this morning. Actually, I got the third pick in the second round and the 10th pick in the third round for Brandon Ayuk. So I'm super happy about that because Ayuk is probably not going to be anything this year. So or whenever. But all right, we spoke about this before. I think this is the move for the Raiders, or at least right now. Now, granted, the Chicago Bears. I even said that like I was from Chicago. I don't know why. That was crazy. But the Bears look like they're planning to take Gene-T. But I don't know, man. The Raiders, what is Alexander? I think Alexander Madison's a free agent, right? Or even if he isn't, whatever. Sincere McCormick, Zamir White. I mean, what are we doing here? Let's go get.
Yeah.
Something just exploded somewhere in my house. That was crazy. But we're going to get Gene-T here at number 6. I think it's like, I don't know. This reminds me of Detroit 2 years ago when we had no idea what they were going to do at, what was that, number 12? And then they took Jahmyr Gibbs and everyone was like, oh, I don't know about that. But I mean, Gene-T is someone that is super hyped up. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see him go very, very highly in this draft. I personally think he's a better prospect than what Bijan Robinson was.
I agree.
And I think it just makes a ton of sense for this team. You know, now you have Geno Smith for a year. To me, that really cooled off anything. That means to me that they weren't so sold on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like it was a lock. So once they went and got Geno, I think also that was twofold. Like we said before, like when we were texting, you know, they got their quarterback so they don't have to draft one, so they could focus on another skill position, and that's running back. And I'm going to take Gene-T here at 6.
Yeah. Someone in the chat was saying the Commanders trade for Tunsil was not worth it. He's old and gets too many penalties. I'm just going to touch on this quickly. I'm not too worried about the penalties when he allows less than a 5% pressure rate. I think you can kind of live with some of the penalties. Also, we mentioned tackles are playing well into their 30s, early 40s. He's 31 years old. I think he's right in the middle of his prime and playing some incredible football. I think they kind of fleeced Houston, to be completely honest.
You look really handsome, by the way.
Thank you.
I just had to tune in to see what that camera angle was looking like there. But I'm actually on the clock. I'm on the clock for three consecutive picks, which is kind of crazy here. Jets, I kind of touched on it before. I think we need to address the offensive line now. I know that they haven't made a move for a safety. I think number 7 is a little too rich for my blood for Malachi Starks or Nick Emmanwori. I love if we were looking to trade back here to like number 15 or 16, I still honestly think that Malachi Starks might be there in the middle of the first round. And then it's just a matter of preference at that point. Mason Graham is still on the board, and that's the pick that I always make. But it looks like the Jets are really committed to fixing the offense first and foremost right now. Ted McMillan is off the board here at number 7. That might have been my pick, even though I have my reservations about him and his probably 4.8 speed. Tyler Warren is still here. I think we're going to solidify the offensive line because we are going to run the football, people. Armin Membu is my pick here at number 7.
Yeah, I think if he's on the board there at 7, that's a no-brainer for me.
Gosh, this is certainly a selection now. Well, they did miss out on Milton Williams.
Hang on. They did. If you're going where I think you're going, they did bring in Bobby Brown. So they did add another interior piece. If you're looking at Mason Graham.
I am, but that's still not might stop me. Also, Bobby Brown, great name, by the way. Yeah. Bobby Brown is someone that is more of like a nose to me. So unless they're really looking to kind of go to that 3-4, or they might play 3-4 now. But all right. We'll see what we have here. I like Mike Green a lot here.
Mike Green is, I mean, we've talked about this. I'm in love with Mike Green. He is an incredible prospect. I don't think he gets the love in this class that he deserves.
There's really a lot of ways we can go here. I know that they just re-signed Tommy Tremble.
Yeah, I was about to say I like Tyler Warren as like a really sneaky fit for the team.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't see it often, but it's one that I do like. Yeah. Another person in the chat, since the Patriots signed Josh Dobbs, where is a location you would like to see Joe Milton at? I don't really. He had that one good game against the third stringers in Buffalo, and I think people still think he could be a franchise guy. Maybe
what about Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh, I think, could be an interesting fit. Miami also, I think, could kind of be an interesting fit as a backup quarterback to Tua. I wouldn't hate that, but I'm not really. I don't think they would deal interdivision. I'm not invested in the Joe Milton market. I don't think he's a starter at this point in his career. At number 9, I got the Saints. I'm going to go Jahdae Barron here. They were pretty active trying to get Paulson Adebo back. They got outpriced. Apparently, they were trying to get Charvarius Ward. Chris Ballard came in and stomped on that dream. So I like Jahdae Barron a ton. I like Will Johnson. I still think he's probably my CB1, but with the injury concerns and the concerns about him not testing, I think he could slip a little bit. Barron just gives you so much versatility on the defensive side of the ball that I just would find it really hard to pass on him here in the top 10.
I love it. And you know how I feel about Jahdae Barron. So I think that's a great fit. 10 here. Wow. I mean, you got your pick of the litter if you're besides for the one player that they probably want.
Yeah.
You got your pick of the litter. Gonna go a little outside the box here because this is a live mock, really talking about free agency. Listen, going off of what we've seen this past week, where the Bears have done, Brian Poles has done a marvelous job. Jonah Jackson, Joe Thuney, Drew Dahlman, Grady Jarrett, you're taking care of an extreme amount of needs.
Dayo Dengbo as well.
Yes, I saw that too. This is tough, man. For the amount of money that they paid Odengbo, I don't think you go edge here.
I'm there as well.
I don't think you do. I think we're going to see 2 running backs in the top 10. I'm going to take Omarion Hampton here.
I love it. I really do. There are 2 players. I would probably go with Mason Graham in this spot. But the 2 players that I had in mind were...
With Ben Johnson, I'm just thinking he's going to try and recreate his magic in Detroit. He's going to get a 3-down workhorse, and he still has DeAndre Swift on his team as well, and Roschon Johnson. So
the guys that I was thinking about, I was looking at. I kind of feel like for Ben Johnson, he might favor TreVeyon Henderson over Omarion Hampton. Now, I'm not saying TreVeyon Henderson goes in the top 10, but with his speed and big playability, I think he could view him as like his Jahmyr Gibbs type. But what about Matthew Golden? You're probably going to lose Keenan Allen. You could go get a third receiver. He can be your Jameson Williams type as just this burner that can get open deep. And then you got Odunze and DJ Moore.
I don't know if you spend the number 10 overall pick on a player that's just going to be your burner, though.
I agree, but they did spend a number 12 overall pick on Jameson Williams. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think. Yeah, but that's hindsight being 2020 for what Jameson Williams is now. I don't think that they envisioned him on being this gadgety, deep play threat. I think that he was going to be the focal point of the offense besides for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he just kind of, I don't think they'd expected to hit on Sam Laporta too. And then this whole, there's really no fit in the Detroit offense other than the deep play gadget type player for Jameson Williams. So really, I think this year is a make or break season for Jameson Williams because we'll see what he really is without Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
So I don't think hindsight being, oh yeah, well they just used the 12th overall pick on a guy that just runs really, really fast and is good in the open field. I don't think that's what they envisioned for him at first, though.
Yeah, and I agree. It was just a thought exercise. I thought could be an interesting
thought exercise.
I could see them going that route. Here at 11, I mean Mason Graham. I'm running the card in. If he's on the board, you lose Javon Hargrave and you get an incredible prospect in Mason Graham. I'm not overthinking this pick.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. A lot of different ways that you can't even really say anything else. Just that. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of playing with house money there too. Mason Graham at number 11 outside the top 10. Number 12, you have Dallas. There's a lot of different ways that they can go here. There's one that, so it seems to me that the Dallas Cowboys are really trying to keep some, and I mean some being very little, of their own free agents. It feels like they're not really going to go out and spend too much money as it is. They brought back Marquise Bell, which I thought was really good. He was a sleeper for me for the Jets. And for 3 years, $12 million, that's a really nice deal. They brought back their long snapper. Hey, how you doing? They did lose a corner today. They lost Jordan Lewis, but you still have
Special
Deron
teamers
Bland.
people too.
You still have Trayvon Diggs as well. You know, I'm going to go outside the box here. Zach Martin retired. Massive hole on the interior. I know you have Cooper Beebe. I understand that. He is playing center, and he played very, very well. What about Tyler Booker here at number 12?
I like it. I like it a lot. I really like it. I'm a big fan of Booker as a prospect, and I think that's a really solid move for them, especially with the running backs off the board. I definitely think
that's 3 Tylers on the offensive line, by the way, too.
Yeah. Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker. Who am I missing?
Tyler Guyton.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he was on the team. Here at 13, we've got the Dolphins. Man, the Dolphins are maybe, like, other than the Saints and maybe the Browns, I feel like the Dolphins might be one of the most directionless franchises in the NFL. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're going. I don't trust the management. I don't trust anything about this team. You're going to lose Javon Holland. You lost Christian Wilkins last year. Man, this is tough. An offensive line is a huge need. I would have loved to go with M'Boue or with Campbell. I think I'm going to go Kelvin Banks. Just get a guy that's got inside-outside versatility. I think he would fit this wide zone rushing scheme that McDaniel wants to run. I think he would make a lot of sense here.
I like it.
At 14, my Indianapolis Colts. They got Charvarius Ward. They got Cam Bynum. Think you can wait on secondary a little bit. I mean, if he's on the board here at 14, I am going to go outside the box, and I am going to take Mike Green because I don't think there's a interesting dynamic in the pass rush room. Obviously, you draft Laiatu Latu last year. They don't really have any long-term options. Kwity Paye is a free agent next year. Dayo Odengbo just walked. That pass rush depth isn't really there. I think Mike Green's a phenomenal prospect that would make a ton of sense for Lou Anarumo's defense. I do want Indianapolis to go trade for Trey Hendrickson, and I think it's a realistic possibility. But as things stand right now, you need a pass rusher. I think Mike Green would be a home run.
I love it.
Then at 15, the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, the James. Where do you stand on the James Pierce stuff? Because there are a lot of people I think are just. I think prospect fatigue is setting in with James Pierce, and they're trying to find these so-called character issues that just came out of nowhere. Granted, I don't know anything about that, but there are people saying he might not make it out. He might not get taken in the first round.
Yeah, screw that.
Absurd.
Screw all that. No, I don't listen. I don't really buy into the noise, to be honest with you. I mean, look at Jalen Carter a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Still, I thought was a top 3 player in the class. I'll be honest with you, shooting straight from the hip here, unless you raped, killed, or robbed someone at gunpoint, I'm not really interested in character concerns. If you're here to win and play football, that's all I'm really concerned about.
I'm taking James Pierce at 15. They need a pass rusher desperately. You lose Grady Jarrett. You did draft Brandon Dorless, who I think could kind of fit that mold. You got Rukaroro. I don't love that Falcons defense long-term, but James Pierce, I think, elevates the ceiling of that group, and he's just so dynamic and athletic as a pass rusher.
I love it. I do. Interesting here. A lot of different ways that you can go for the Cardinals. I mean, I would love to add another weapon. I really don't want to, though. Kenneth Grant is on the board. I feel like they desperately need some. I mean, Darius Robinson barely got to play last year, so you get him back.
You picked up Josh Sweat in free agency. Loved that move for them.
Yeah, I do too. That's not going to fix the. It's not going to fix the interior, though.
Yeah.
I think you still have Jonathan Gannon as your coach. I think you're still trying to build up that interior. I'm going to take Kenneth Grant here at number 16.
Yeah, I like that pick. At 18, I got the Cincinnati Bengals. Another franchise that feels like you could put in that directionless category. They're going to probably trade Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins. I feel like they might have gotten priced out of T. Higgins, to be completely honest, and they might not have no choice but to trade him at this point. But if we're at 17 and Will Johnson's on the board, I'm taking Will Johnson. They need some secondary help. I think you need a lockdown number one corner. Cam Taylor-Britt, I thought, was really disappointing this past year. Will Johnson, like we said earlier, he's still my top corner in the class. I'm not passing on the value here at number 17.
I like that. You know, it's so funny. I was doing a try. I always, before I record a mock draft, I always like do a trial just to make sure that I don't like miss anything. And the last one I had to redo because I think I completely forgot. Like, I just kept looking at. I always try and think a little bit outside the box. I feel like if you do the same mock every single week, it's just really boring. And Will Johnson wasn't in my first round, and I'm like, well, I can't have Will Johnson fall out of the first round. That's crazy now. But yeah, no, I love that fit. And honestly, they really do need to start addressing the defensive side of the ball. If Kenneth Grant was there at 17, I feel like that's the pick, but he's not. Walter Nolan could be a pick there too. But yeah, I mean, that's an amazing pick. You're getting arguably CB1, in the class.
Yeah.
So at 17, which is crazy. A lot of ways that the Seattle Seahawks can go here. I'll be honest with you. In my heart of hearts, I still think Malachi Starks is the top safety.
I agree with you.
Do other people view that? Probably not. They see Nick Emmanwori as a perfect 10 rest or in like 7 different, defensive positions. And they're like, well, that's safety number 1. And it's a close race. I do value Starks a little bit higher than that. Jihad Campbell is a player that really interests me here as well. Defensive minded coach. Let's just take a look at the interior of the offensive line here. Just to make sure I'm not missing anyone here. Jared Wilson is someone that honestly I could see. Seattle always has this weird thing where I feel like I don't want to call it a reach, but they always select someone in the first round that you just never think that they're going to take.
Yeah,
but I don't know. That's a little. Tate Ratledge is
Jared Wilson. I love as a prospect. I would be dumbfounded if he went in the first round.
Yeah, that's something that I'm really, another player that really speaks to me is Donovan Jackson here, but I think that he's going to be drafted as a left tackle because of how awesome he was in place of Josh Simmons. So
really,
yeah, I think so. I'm not going to take him here. I'm just saying that I think that he's.
I just haven't heard many people say that. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, I actually had him my last mock, or the only mock that I've done this year. I had him as well, now I can't do that, I guess, because they paid Jalen Moore to be the left tackle, but I had him as the I drafted him at number 31 with Kansas City. I just like to think outside the box. I think, I think it's something that could be there. I'm not loving the interior here. Someone that's athletic that could kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. I think I'm going to draft Nick Emmanwori here at number 18.
Yeah, and I think for McDonald's defense, just the versatility that he could bring on the back end, it just makes so much sense. As one of my favorite player, even before the combine, I was like, Emmanwori just feels like
a Mike McDonald. Yeah, it does. You're right.
At 19, I'm going Jihad Campbell. I'm sprinting the card in if Jihad Campbell's on the board. Ezaraku, I like as a prospect for them as well, but after they brought in Hassan Reddick, it's just a 1-year deal. Jihad Campbell gives you athleticism. He gives you blitzing upside. And I think he's the best coverage linebacker in this draft as well. I love his game, and Todd Bowles is going to absolutely love Jihad Campbell.
Yeah, I love that. Now you got number 20 here. Marion Hampton is off the board. Tenaloa Hufunga was just signed as well. Really, honestly, I feel like that for someone that was, a year removed from an all-pro appearance, I mean, $15 million. I know he just came off of a devastating injury, but I'm willing to take the risk, honestly. I think it's a great signing there. I think this pick is Luther Burden, to be quite honest with you, if he's there at number 20.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have Burden still ahead of Golden?
That's not honestly something that I've thought about. I'm gonna have to revisit that.
I still have Burden ahead of Golden, but Burden, Igbuka, Golden are like all bunched together.
I just think Burden is like, with Golden, you get the speed aspect, of course, blow the top off the defense. Igbuka is someone that's not the fastest guy, but he's going to beat you with his route running ability, natural separation, actually able to really create using his body He understands his body positioning he's just like, to me, he's the savviest wide receiver in the class.
Yeah.
I think he just wins
He
in so
feels
many
like a
different
guy
ways.
that's going to get drafted. It feels just like Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's going to get drafted between 20 and 26, and he's going to have a multiple-time Pro Bowl career. It's hard to see a world where Emeka Egbuka is not at least a good NFL wide receiver.
100%. And then you have Burden, who I think is just I think he's going to have the best rookie season of any wide receiver in the class. I just think he is someone that you just get the ball in his hand and just let him go. Like he's someone that obviously not as big, but he reminds me a lot of the way he plays the game of Dez Bryant. Just someone that could win down the field, who could win contested wise, could catch a screen at the line of scrimmage and take it. Just someone that could win on so many different levels against the defense. And I'm a big fan of Luther Burden. Down year, which is why I feel like there's 2-year prospect fatigue with Luther Burden, where it was like last year, everyone was like, oh my God, like I can't wait for this guy to come out. Then he has a down year and everyone's like, he's all right.
How much of the down? I honestly don't even put much of the down year on Luther Burden. I thought
I don't either.
It was way worse this past season. The offensive line took a hit. I'm not worried about Luther Burden. Like I said, I was just very curious what your thoughts were on that. Are you ready for what I'm going to do at 21?
Maybe.
I'm going to go Shedeur Sanders at 21.
There it is.
I'm not going to not have Shedeur go in the first round. I saw this on the NFL Stock Exchange mock. I kind of love the fit. I really do. I think he would be really good in Pittsburgh. I like it. I like it a ton. A bit of a news story here. Well, a few things that we got to get caught up on. The Rams will be cutting Cooper Kupp. They were unable to find a trade. The Browns will be cutting Dalvin Tomlinson, and your boy Zach Wilson's going to Miami, which is it's so on brand. If you really,
my God, I already know that the 2025 season is going to come down to the Jets winning against Miami. Tua is going to be on his 17th concussion of the season. And Zach Wilson is going to come in and he's going to light the world on fire and he's going to kill the Jets' dreams of ending their playoff drought.
Is there any chance Zach Wilson can ever turn into a starting quarterback? Because I still think there's a 2% chance.
Yeah, why not? I don't see why not. I never have anything against the kid. I think he's there were flashes of him actually being pretty decent. It's very few and far between, but they were definitely there. 22. This is at this point, I feel like this is just really easy. You could say it's lazy, but we know that Jim Harbaugh is a homer to begin with. Yeah. Colson Loveland just makes a lot of sense here at number 22.
He does. I love that fit. 23, the Green Bay Packers. Interesting spot here. They brought in Nate Hobbs, which I really liked that move. Did not like the Aaron Banks move very much. And that one I just did not understand. I think the Jordan Morgan pick now makes 0 sense a year and a half later. There's a couple. If Walter Nolan's on the board, I think he's a sneaky one. Kenny Clark, I believe he's got 1 year left on his contract. I think you'd look to improve the interior. You haven't really gotten a lot from Devontae Wyatt. So I like Walter Nolan as a potential fit. I like Donovan Ezeraku as a potential fit as well because you need some more pass rush. I actually am going to go Ezeraku, and here's why. You need another pass rusher, but Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator in Green Bay, was the former Boston College head coach. He's got a connection there. Ezeraku is a player that's rising up draft boards quite a bit. I'm going to take him here to solidify that edge group in Green Bay.
I like that. It's a very Green Bay Packers pick too. I like that. I was hoping that you were going to go that way for the sake of that. A lot of ways that you can go here for the Vikings here. I like Malachi Starks here. Derek Harmon is a player that gets mocked here quite a bit. But Walter Nolan is still on the board here. I think this makes a ton of sense. I did forget that Walter Nolan was still on our board. I was going to take Travion Henderson here at number 24, but I think Walter Nolan makes a lot more sense. And there's mutual interest. There is known interest in Walter Nolan in the Minnesota Vikings building, so it just makes a lot of sense.
How is Shamar Stewart still on the board? I
was waiting for you. I was waiting for you to say something, but I feel like we haven't gotten a team where it just fits just yet. That's why I was waiting for it.
I like Shamar Stewart as a prospect, but have a lot of concerns about the lack of production. I think he'll probably go in the top 10 because of the tools, but I think there's a realistic possibility that it happens, that he's on the board later. At 25, okay, let's talk about this now, because we've gotten almost an hour into the stream and we have not talked about the Laramie Tunsil trade, which, I mean, we talked about it for a solid 15 seconds. What is Houston doing? Because everyone last offseason, this time, they had just signed Danielle Hunter. They were trading for Stephon Diggs. Nick Caserio is a genius. And then he pulls whatever this is.
Yeah.
And this, I feel like, could come back to really bite the Houston Texans. I think this is an awful trade for Houston. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, for Houston, they get back some pretty decent value for someone that is over that 30-year-old plateau, someone that does get a lot of penalties, has a massive cap hit. I think that's why they did it. And I think they have their eyes on someone at number 25 that they're saying, you know what, we have a chance to get some serious draft capital back for this guy. He's probably not going to re-sign with us after this. Let's get rid of him now. Let's draft his replacement. From the Washington side, I think it's like, you eat the cap, but you have the money.
Yeah.
Low risk, really, really high reward there for them. And honestly, I don't hate it from the Houston side. I know that, right now it looks like CJ Stroud is going to get sacked 100+ times, but I'm sure that Nick Caserio has a plan. I'm sure he's got his eyes on someone at number 25. So I'm going to wait till it plays out. If they draft a receiver at number 25, then I'm going to be like, all right, well,
I was jokingly about to say, well, I'm going to take Emeka Egbuka, but I'm not going to take Emeka Egbuka, even though I think he'd make a lot of sense. I'm going to go a little bit like Josh Simmons, I think, is the one everyone's going to pick here because he's a true tackle. He'd probably be tackle 1 in this class if it wasn't for the ACL tear. I'm actually going to go with Gray Zabel, I think, because I like the flexibility he gives to potentially kick inside. The guard spots were awful for Houston this past season. So getting a guy like Zabel, who has over 3,000 snaps in his collegiate career, he is a left tackle, but he's also, I think, has the flexibility to kick inside, I think might be a little bit more valuable to them. So I'm going to take him at 25.
I like it. I really do. 26 here. Again, tough. I really like Emeka Egbuka here, only because now you have Devontae Adams. Demarcus Robinson's a free agent. He's probably not going to re-sign. Cooper Kupp is going to be cut. You have Puka. Getting to that point in Matthew Stafford's career where it's like, all right, like, let's put that offense out there. Let's watch him get to work. I want to do it so bad.
What is it?
I want to take Emeka Egbuka so bad, but I'm looking at some of the other guys that are still on the board.
I like Jalen Walker. Like, I'm not a big fan of him as a prospect, but in this specific spot, I think he could make some sense opposite of Jared versus just like a speed guy around the edge.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to take Shamar Stewart.
Okay. I don't hate that either. I think the power now that you have with Stewart and Verse and Fisk and Kobe Turner, that defensive line could be nasty.
Yeah, that's insane. That is insane. Just for the pure prospect of just putting those 4 guys together is insane.
I'm going to take Jalen Walker here then at 27.
Yeah, all right.
I think I have to. Like I said, not the biggest fan of him as a prospect, but as a designated pass rush type, a guy that's just going to strictly be out there on passing downs. Baltimore rotates their edges anyways. I think Walker would make a ton of sense for their defense. I'm going to take him at 27.
Remind me. I don't remember off the top of my head. There's been a lot going on today. Did Detroit add anyone on the defensive side?
DJ Reed.
No. I mean, like, the defensive line. I knew that.
Did they add any defensive linemen? No, they did cut Zadarius Smith, though.
Yeah.
So
okay. That's all I needed to hear. That's it. I'm going to take Michael Williams here.
Yeah, I like that. Another guy that he feels like he's a prospect to me that every time I mock this, I'm like, Michael Williams kind of feels like a Lions prospect to me. I feel like he's a guy with his ability to defend the run. I feel like he fits what Dan Campbell wants to do.
Ryan Kelly to the Vikings on a 2-year, $18 million deal.
See ya. 29, I'll take Malachi Starks. I think the value is incredible. They've been linked to some of the top free agent safeties. whether that's Javon Holland. They lost Jeremy Chin. Starks is still an incredible prospect that's again, prospect fatigue, I think, is starting to come up. He's an awesome player that is going to be an awesome fit for this Washington defense.
You know, I toyed around with doing it last time. When it came to the Bills, and I think I'm going to pull the trigger on it this time. I mean, Ibuka, Golden, they're still on the board. They just signed Josh Palmer. I really don't think that they're inclined to take a wide receiver in the first round here. The back end of their secondary, though, does need some serious help. I think Xavier Watts is a player that would make a lot of sense in Buffalo. They do value their safeties. Watts is someone that could play all over the defense. I think he's a sneaky back end of the first round type of pick.
I could see it. I definitely could see it. I don't mind that pick at all. Now, I think he's also a good complement to Cole Bishop, who they drafted last year. I think you've got a really nice safety duo there. I like that pick. At 31, I mean, it has to be Josh Simmons. It has to be Josh Simmons. I just don't see, even though you brought in, remind me of his name, the San Francisco.
Jalen Moore.
You bring in Jalen Moore. Thank you. You still have holes on that offensive line. I think Josh Simmons is a no-brainer here.
This is a tough one.
Just take Emeka Egbuka.
No, I really don't want to, honestly, here. I mean, I do, but
this is a bit of an interesting one. I don't think I've done a mock where both Golden and Egbuka are probably going to fall out of the first round.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I bring some different stuff. I bring some different ideas. We haven't done this in a while. You know, not used to it. I like Derek Harmon here a lot. Do like Darius Alexander too. What is the possibility of this at 32?
Oh man, I mean, you lost Darius Slay and Bradbury. You lost Isaiah Rodgers as well, so you lost 3 corners. You have. I'm wondering. I guess it depends on, do you want to play DeJean at safety or do you want to keep him at corner? If you want to keep him at safety, then I'm all for it. You know, this has been my guy since the summer.
Well, then let's do it.
Then we'll keep Cooper DeJean, or even you can move Cooper DeJean to the slot, have Revel.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
And I think you have a really, really fun cornerback trio. I think I would have to get a Revel jersey, to be honest. I think I'd have to.
It's just such a great name, too.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be so good.
All right. I'm sorry to cut it off very, very shortly, but I do have to get going now.
All right.
Unfortunately, but thank you so much for this. If you want to do this again sometime this week, if you have time, totally down to do it.
Yeah.
So you just let me know, dude. Thanks for coming on. Say goodbye to your TikTok followers for me, please.
See you, everyone.
See you later, dude.
Have a good one.
You too, man.